My question is are you able to like help relieve self-sabotaging thoughts
sure.
and beliefs, and to help somebody truly believe in themselves and their own innate power to create and manifest?
Well, what I can do, and a self-sabotage mental program and self-destruct and self-defeat is nothing more than a thought form that a person has bought into, or maybe they inherited, or maybe they were taught that as a kid for whatever. But I still get it's nothing more than a form of energy. Yes, you can change the energy. I do it in every class for the whole audience there. What I can't do is make the person accept it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, for this changing the energy is not a problem, but the person has to accept it. Now, can I make a person believe in themselves? Probably not. I can encourage them, I can compliment them, and all of that, but I still can't make them accept it.
Well, what could help somebody to accept it so they can allow their inner bliss and joy to dominate?
Well, I'm going to give you a short answer. I'm not sure it's a complete answer, but every emotion, in my opinion, has a spirit. Like love has a spirit, peace has a spirit, fear, anger, jealousy, all this stuff. I would suggest you invite in and thank the spirit of acceptance.
How do you do that?
Just by intent.
Just think about it?
It's that quick, George. This stuff is simpler than people think it is.
Maybe we try to overcomplicate things.
Yeah,
huh?
Most people went to the wrong school and stayed too long.
I live in a town that's not too awfully far away from the Lawrence Livermore Laboratories in the area where they were doing testing back in the 40s through 60s with uranium and plutonium. It's in our water table now. This area that we live in has among the nation's highest rates of breast, uterine, and prostate bladder cancer in the United States. Is there anything that we can do for our water?
That's
an
interesting question.
I would like to say there is, because I have a report from the Canadian government that tested a well both before and after that was full of arsenic, and this was back 11 years ago, back in July of 2002, I believe. And the arsenic disappeared in the well. And then one of the stories I led in with tonight of working on the alfalfa hayfield that had been sprayed with Roundup. But yet we get a good crop of alfalfa, or the farmer does, gets a good crop of alfalfa. But, so when I see things like that happen, that encourages me to believe that we can do anything. And a lot of folks will write and say, can I do something? And my answer is always, try it and see. That's how I found out. So I would think that if we have the ability to neutralize the negative effect of Roundup on a hayfield and neutralize arsenic in a well, that we could work on other things too. Now, can I prove this at this time? No, I really can't, but I don't know that we can't do it. And the worst you're ever going to do if you try is break even. So now, whether you can play my water video at that and water DVD and change it or not, I can't promise that. I can say a lot of people have. They've cleaned up the water in their wells, the tap water coming into the house. We've done some pretty decent miracles with it. But I don't ever promise anybody they can do anything because it may be a factor I'm not aware of. But, yeah, give it a try.
All right, good.
All right. Super.
I have spina bifida, and I had surgery 4 years ago, and I became very dependent. Well, I am very dependent on painkillers, and it's pretty much ruined my life. And I've tried everything that I can to get off of them, and they've told me there's no hope. I have such severe nerve damage, and I'm wondering if there's anything that I can do. Sorry to cry, but
well,
I'm just wondering if there's anything that I can do, or if there's anything you can do at all to help me. Because it's ruining my life. I'm 36 years old, and I'm so miserable, and I'm always in pain.
Well, I don't really know. I don't have a quick answer for that. As a matter of fact, if anybody calls in with a complicated physical problem, there are no quick answers. At least there are no magic bullets for this stuff.
You're not like Lourdes, right?
Say again, please.
Lourdes, the water in France.
Oh, yes.
Or are you?
Oh, am I like that? all I can say is on that, as I had a friend that went to France, got some of that water, came back, and we were doing a test on this. This has been several years ago, on test on different types of water, and it was a blind test. And I had also energized water, and the water that I energized went out approximately 3 times as far as the water that came from Lourdes in France.
Okay, now in Carol's particular case, what, if anything, can you do?
Well, I don't know. That's the only honest answer I can give. Sometimes we can simply energize water for people, and it'll work. Sometimes it's just simply intent. I have kind of summed up all I do is to work on cases like this, and I call it a virus scan. I just borrowed that from computer language, and I can send that out. That doesn't mean that the people are going to accept it. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for them. Because, like I say, a lot of folks have subconscious beliefs that they are unaware that they have, and it's beliefs of suffering. We find some people have what I call self-sabotage mental programs. At whatever they do, they will sabotage themselves. So as far as a quick fix for the human race, there isn't one. Folks didn't get in the shape they're in overnight. I wouldn't get into working with anybody on the air because it's a time-consuming process.
Okay.
So it's just, it's not fair to George, the listeners, or anybody else to take on one person to do that with, because really to go through a list to check out people is going to take a minimum of 30 minutes. Now, I can give some short advice on things,
okay.
But because any part of the body that is not functioning correctly or has pain in it, I can pretty much promise you there's 3 things wrong. 1 is it has no love, 2, it's not happy, and 3, it don't want to live. As I said in the early part of the show, our body parts, each body part has its own specific intelligence and emotion. And that's just 3 of the things that I check out on people. And the way to correct that is you can thank the spirits of love and happiness for being in your body, and you can thank your body every day because I have an old hillbilly way of saying things. Your head is listening while your mouth is talking. And if people have arthritic knees, I just ask them, do you really think they're going to get better because you cuss them? No, they probably won't. They might get better because you thank them. So people need to understand that their body does have intelligence. It responds to our thoughts. It responds to our words. And it also responds to words of other people. We are affected by what we hear, whether we like it or not, or whether we believe it or not. And that's why it's so important to keep negative people out of your life. And people think they can't do this, but you can, because I do. I do not have troublesome people in my life.
You get rid of them, or what do you do?
You get rid of them. Now, shooting over the head every now and then helps.
But some of them...
You can also do it mentally.
Raymond, some of them don't know that they're doing this. Do you work with them or just scatter them away?
So much time to work with people. And as far as a never-ending line of folks that need help, and I just simply can't get to all of them. So I try to work to the ones that I can work with. Now, George, I'm going to be real blunt right here because whenever I get a request, I hold my pendulum over the center of my chart, and I ask this question: is the world better because this person lives? Swing to the right. If the world is worse because this person lives, swing to the left. If it swings to the left, I hit the delete button.
And out you go.
That's right. It saves me a lot of time.
Do you tell them why?
No. If they ask me, I'll tell them, but I prefer not to offend people.
Well, how do you get away? What do you say?
I don't say anything.
You just leave?
Well, I don't let people call me. I just hit a delete button on the computer.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, it saves a lot of time.
I'm sure
and that way you can spend your time with the people who are actually a credit to society and we're actually doing something.
Did you do any work around the Gulf of Mexico because of that spill?
Oh, actually, I tried and didn't. That's what I was saying a while ago. My friend Krista down in Austin was the one that worked on that. And it was an amazing story. I really had trouble believing that my dowsing was right when I was measuring that. And we don't have physical evidence. she's an environmental scientist, but said the data out there isn't really telling you everything. So all we have there is just dowsing. However, if we have any listeners around the Gulf Coast, anywhere around there, that has noticed any difference in the water, I'd appreciate you contacting me through the website and let me know.
My question for Raymond is that we were talking about ADD people, and my mother, she's 93, and she has dementia, almost Alzheimer's, but is it connected, or is it something that my mom could look at that video and see what's going on with that?
I certainly don't have much technical information on this, but they do not appear to be connected for one simple reason. I don't know of a single case of Alzheimer's or dementia that I have ever been able to help. However, I've worked with a lot of folks, whether it was bipolar, ADD. I didn't bother to try to analyze them. They just had strange behavior, and this is far more prevalent than what most people believe, and that's what Linda was saying a while ago. And I have found that it can come and go. For example, on various occasions, I'll be asked to work on a board of directors meeting. Well, I always check them out to see what percentage of these people have an imbalanced blood flow to the brain. And
most of them.
And a lot of them, yeah. And by doing this ahead of time, by cleaning them all up ahead of time, the meetings go so much smoother.
You know what I like about you, Raymond? You're so darn honest about stuff. If you can do it, you say it. If you can't, you say it.
Well, I don't have a good enough memory to be a good liar. I just never claimed to have answers for everybody's problems.
I wish some politicians would say that.
Something I haven't mentioned yet, and this may or may not apply to you, but there's something I check for people, and I call it negative patterns of attraction. And that is people that attract similar situations in their life over and over and over. And what I believe it is a mental program. Or what I've worked to do, and I teach people how to do it themselves, is reprogram yourself. Instead of attracting the same misery, attract more positive situations. And again, I say, I've been my own first customer on all this stuff. We're also affected a lot by our ancestry. We got the color of our eyes, hair, skin, and body type from our ancestors. We also got their belief systems. We probably got a lot of their habits. It's called genetic memory. So one of the things I started doing early on was neutralizing the negative effect of heritage, culture, and religion of ancestors upon me. I mean, there is just a long list of stuff that affects humans. And again, there's no short answers.
Let's get back into this taking the chlorine out of water.
Okay.
Well, that sure would be good to do that on a regular basis. You're like a human water filter.
Well, actually, we made a film that people could use and do that. We had one fellow up in Connecticut that was putting a mental water filter on his neighbor's water lines, and he was just boggling their mind. The chlorine disappeared. I mean, they could taste that it had changed, but yet there was nothing physical there, and they couldn't figure out how in the world was this guy doing this. But I made this information available to people. They just got to put it to use. And distance isn't a factor either. My friend Ken Bloom, we mentioned earlier, that cleaned up those wrecks on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, also took the bad odor and taste out of a well 85-mile distance just overnight. So this does boggle the minds of most people. I mean, I'm aware of that. But here again, we can't keep ourselves in the same box everybody else is in. If we're going to make the world a better place to live, we got to get out of the box and think a little different. And the furthest I know of ever putting a water filter on for somebody was I was down in Texas at the time, the Texas Dowsing Conference, and we were able to do this in Paris, France. And the last time I talked to the person, which was something like 5 years later, the water was still good. And before then, it was undrinkable. I was at a conference there in Bristol about a couple of years ago, and this one lady came up to me and handed me a little fruit jar full of water and said, "I was told to give this to you." And I said, "Well, why? What? what am I supposed to do with it? And she said, I don't know. Somebody has told me to give it to you. Well, I wanted to be nice to her, but I didn't really quite know what I was supposed to do. So I checked the energy of the water, and it was 0. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, something is wrong. I said, you been drinking this stuff? She said, all my life. I said, it comes out of a spring in my backyard. Well, I checked the energy of the land. I believe she said she had 20 acres. And I found there were several curses on the land. And I said, well, we better break the curses. Actually, I didn't even tell her. I was just thinking to myself, we better break the curses here. When I did, the energy of the water jumped dramatically. The expression on her face changed, and she started kind of trembling all over and said, I can feel that. I can feel that. Well, her husband came to class this last year, which has been about 2 years past, and I didn't know who he was. He introduced himself when he came in, and he said, our water has been fine ever since. And his wife, the woman literally changed standing right there in front of me. And all I did was break the curses on the land, because any time there's curses on the land, it's going to affect the water in the well or the spring or whatever water source you have.
Have you ever wondered whether it's simply you that is doing this as opposed to bringing in some kind of energy force to do this?
Yeah, that's crossed my mind, and I really don't have a good answer. I guess we're all connected throughout the universe.
Because it's possible. It's possible you're the conduit.
Well, the only way I can answer that, George, it didn't happen until I had an intent for it to.
That's true.
That's the only honest answer I've got for you.
So what does that tell you?
Well, that tells me that human intent can accomplish an awful lot of stuff.